Doctor Who Series 11 Episode 2, The Ghost Monument. Hey, I'm Planet Mark, and today we're doing another Doctor Who review. We started with last week's premiere of The Woman Who Fell to Earth, and we're carrying on for the rest of the series. So, as per usual, we're going to be going through the characters, like their arcs, where the story, what I thought of the story, the baddies, villains, is pretty much everything. I want to know in the comment section below, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I want to know what your opinion on this second episode. Admittedly, last week, if you go back and look at my other review, I was maybe a slight bit too generous. But then again, that's a regeneration episode, so you kind of have to go put them against all the other regeneration episodes and put them in that kind of bracket. Episode 2, we're in full swing now, so there's going to be no more Mr. Nice Guy. We're going to be putting out and being harsh, being critical of every single part of it, making sure that, you know, if I'm not satisfied, then I'll tell you. So if you like this video today, give it a good old thumbs up, subscribe to Planet Mark, and hit a bell notification to be told of next week's Doctor Who review. It's every week straight after the episode. So the very first thing that we're treated to, without like there's any like kind of action at all, is the theme song. Last review, I said I wasn't sure about the theme tune because I was like just hoping that it wasn't actually that, because we didn't have it in the first one. It's more, you know, it was like played at the ending, but I was just hoping that was just the ending one, not the actual theme song. I personally did not work for me. I said this before, it still doesn't work for me. It just feels like it's missing something, and it is still missing something. I can see what they're going for, the whole nostalgic version, but that's about it. It just feels like it's a callback to way back, to like really old school classic Who, but that's it. They're not doing anything new with it, and it just feels it just doesn't work for me. If anything, I think the actual visuals on the first beginning introduction bit, where all gold and glittering and all that probably works better than the theme song itself. But anyway, that's a very minor bit. That's like 30 seconds of the entire episode. Okay, so there is continuity because this happens straight after. I mean, we can assume that's what it was going to be about, because the way that the last episode ended. So yeah, good continuity, and as we find throughout this episode, there's loads of callbacks to the first episode, kind of showing you that this whole series is going to be pretty much one long adventure, as opposed to just a few clips from whatever happens, like without the years or however they spend with each other. It's very sci-fi, going onto a spaceship, and it's a pretty cool beginning. It's really sci-fi, you know, it's just reminding you, this is a sci-fi program, this is what we're doing, and there's a slight bit too much talking at the beginning. They're split up into two, they're picked up by two different spaceships, Bradley and Ryan in like one, and Yaz and the Doctor in another. I didn't really get the feeling from either of them that they were that bothered about being on a spaceship. I mean, yeah, slightly mentioned it a couple of times, and I think Ryan and Bradley were just like amazed, but I didn't really get that feeling that they had actually been on space before. Like, normally it's a really big deal. I mean, with like a series 1, we had Rose just not being able to take it all in, and that was a really good thing. That was really good character development and depth, but I just didn't get that with these people at this point, and this is literally straight afterwards. Graham and Ryan land on the planet, and Jodie comes and crashes her spaceship into them. You can tell that's where the budget was going. But I kind of felt like they missed out because it blacked out at the best bit. As well, I was like, what? Why are you stopping us from watching the best bit, the bit where it's actually the most action? That was where I was like, oh, well, why did they do that? And then, you know, everyone's fine and they're all back together. There was callbacks to the first episode, and like I said before, there's going to be a lot of them in this one. But the planet's name, we find it, is called Desolation. It's all very ominous at the moment. You think, okay, yeah, this is going to be really dangerous. When they meet and they're talking, it just feels like they're going to the tent, and there's just way too much talking. For me, the first 20 minutes is just talking, and that is not a good way to set up an episode. You know, we had like the little bit of action. I said there's a little bit of talking at the beginning, too much for me, and then a little bit of action. It's like, yes, this episode, the best parts of this episode is when it's fast paced, and the slow bits are just too slow. They're supposed to be small, really tight snippets. That just seemed like there was a lot of rambling, especially when he was telling them where to go. We didn't need to hear where they were going to go or the directions. We didn't. They just needed to say where, and then they could have gone about it some other way. They don't really listen to the directions anyway, so it just seemed like a waste of like a couple of minutes of dialogue. Bradley Walsh at this point is still as funny as ever. He does throughout the entire episode. His arc doesn't really change. I mean, we get slight snippets of it when he's on the boat, but there's not really a lot. And at this point, the Doctor's still her witty self. There are a few calls to her being a woman, just like the way that she just kind of brings it up and talks about gossip. But, you know, I mean, she is now, the Doctor is now a woman, so they can't really ignore that. But I suppose, whoever was the best way of going about it, I don't know. The best thing that the Doctor said was, "Welcome to your first alien planet, don't touch anything." That was very Christopher Eccleston, and I really, really liked it. It's the very Doctor-y kind of thing to say. It's like, "Hi, I'm the Doctor, run for your life." That kind of thing. It's just like, this is what it is. Don't do anything stupid. Is kind of what I got from that, and that's why I like it. You know, you've got essence of the Doctor, but essence of like this new actor coming into it. So that's what I'm liking. Whereas Peter Capaldi was just very, "I'm the Doctor, I'm miserable, and how's body." There wasn't much callback to other previous Doctors. Now this kind of feels that the Doctor has evolved and is evolving slightly. I mean, like the first episode, we get tiny little bits of tension being added, like kind of building upon each other. It's not clear. We've had previous episodes in the previous series where you kind of know who the baddies are. You kind of know what they're getting up to, and they're not up to no good. And this time, it's again kind of what Chris Chibnall is doing, is he's getting that, you know, to explore and you to discover with the Doctor, as opposed to you knowing more than she does. But the whole way they got around the Universal Translator thing was ridiculous. It was the Medipods that allowed them to do it instead of the TARDIS this time, and it just seemed like it was a pointless Deus Ex Machina. It was just for plot, and I think it would have been good for them not to understand these non-humans that don't know what humans are, even though they are pretty much exactly humans. The Doctor did say that about the water, and like there being parasites in the water. I kind of thought they were going to expand on that in the end, but it turned out it was just nothing. It was like, we don't really want to have to pay for a CGI budget, so we're just going to say, don't touch the water, the water's really dangerous, and that is about it. If they would have put monsters in the water, or something, I'd be like, oh, that's scary, don't want to fall in the water. I was just like, well, not really, there's danger just for the point as the water couldn't just be regular water. It just seemed as a bit stupid. Other references to Tim Shaw, so again, previous episode. I suppose what Chris Chibnall does with the captains and their arc, just, you know, the people that are racing against each other, I'm not sure whether they are actually captains, but that's what I'm calling them, is they're giving them depth. They're not just people that are out for money, they are doing it for their families, they're doing it, and the male talks about how he was dropped and his mother broke his arm, and just being a general horrible person, really. And the woman talks about how the entire planet's really cramped and they're trying to be cleansed. But she doesn't go on it too much, which is kind of like a hint of it, but doesn't get explained properly at this point. But we go on to find out, which I suppose is good. You know that there's something up with her. You know there's something a bit more to this, and that's what they're doing. That's what they seem to be doing with this series, is little hints, but just enough to get you going, but it will get explained eventually. What I didn't like with the Stephen Moffat episode is like there's just too much talking, too much slowness, and it just didn't seem like there didn't need to be that much talking for the boat bit. Like I say, the slowest bits of this episode are the worst bits. An annoying thing about the Doctor now is that all she does is go about like, oh, you're my friends, yeah, we work really well together, and blah blah blah, I'll promise you that I'm gonna get you home and all that, but you've said that once. You don't need to say a million times. It's like, it's just, again, it just sounds like it's filler because there wasn't enough to fill this episode with, or they didn't have the budget. It was just, well, you know, just, I get it. Show me. Don't just keep telling me that you're going to get these people home. Show us. At this point, it feels like it's the slowest race ever. There's no sense of urgency. I suppose what happens next when it really does build up the tension, and it does build up the pace, kind of in retrospect, maybe they did need that, but at that point, it didn't feel like it. Then we get to the ruins, which is like, because it's a whole desert planet, and there's the ruins kind of like a big manor, like mansion kind of thing, but it's been all run down. It seemed very fallen, apocalyptic. And, you know, we get the whole sense of it's an apocalypse. It was good in that sense, right? The theming and the cinematography as well. That's where it kind of feels like it's like a lot more higher budget than it is. He's obviously got this eye. He's obviously really clear what he wants them, what he wants the people to feel. From like a visual standpoint, it's good. And then they talk about night, and finally we're getting a bit more layers. We're getting a bit more of a better storyline of, okay, now I'm feeling like we're in danger. Now we've got a reason to hurry up because of the night. and then they walk into the temple and these robots were triggered. Don't know whether it's like where they were triggered because it's dusk or whether they were triggered because they entered the temple and they hit some kind of a switch. But these sniper robots, again, they're using guns like the guns. I mean, previous seasons they were very reserved on using guns, but now it seems like they're not. And the whole arc with Ryan, he used the gun, he was like, okay, I feel I'm very Call of Duty, like it, and him using guns is kind of like, I think the Doctor's trying to tell him, okay, well, you know, don't use guns, guns are bad, I don't like guns, and he's using guns, so that's probably what we're going to find out with his arc, is going to probably be turned around. What I would like to see though is like that on a bigger scale, and there being some real danger to the Doctor and everyone because of Ryan. Yaz, throughout the entire episode, there's pretty much no arc. I mean, she does have a few callbacks to her being a human, like just talking about her family and things like that, so not at this point. There's no arc with Yaz at all that I can think of, and same with Graham. He's funny, like him, love Bradley Wills, he's a really good comic, but there's no arc to it, which is annoying. And he's just lost his wife, come on, he talks about it briefly, but that's about it. The Doctor uses the electromagnetic pulse to destroy these sniper bots, but says, okay, well, they're not gone completely, so they will be back. I'm getting a feeling just from this series that it's really gone back to being sci-fi, as opposed to this is just scary or alien for the sake of being alien. It's a science program, it's very sciencey, they're using science words and all sciencey things, so that's good. And then Ryan goes on about the ladders. That's an obvious callback to Grace's nan falling off the ladder. And also, I suppose it could be seen as part of his dyspraxia as well. I mean, he had bad dyspraxia as it was. Now there's the whole sense of the ladders and being just afraid of, well, just having that memory of him not wanting to talk about it. They referenced it before with Graham saying, you need to talk, come on, talk to me. Him not wanting to talk, and it's kind of like he can't work those demons out. So again, we've still got more of an arc. We're really building an arc for Ryan. None of the other characters. Kind of disabled, not kind of. He's got he has an issue. He has like some form of disability, kind of like a difficulty, as in he's not just finding it's not just that he's disadvantaged or anything like that. He's actually got a physical difficulty, which I suppose is a good thing. It's again Doctor Who trying to be more diverse. And then there's the male character, which was like he was just being very whiny, and the Doctor tells him that he needs to just take a nap and just heal himself because he was shot. And her talking about that she has some kind of a duty to all different life forms in the universe. That again is her being firm, it's her showing a different side of her, and it just was again brushed over, which was annoying. I would like to see a lot more of that. And then we finally get down to it. It is revealed the Stenza or Bat or Stanza, whatever you want to call them, the ones from the last episode. That is a good callback. That is now us feeling that we're actually going to get a proper new Doctor Who villain, because before we've just had like one-off baddies, but now it feels like we've got these guys and they're going to be the overarching, the main villain of this entire series. Not the Daleks, not the Cybermen, them. I like that, and I hope that they're going to bring them back in the last episode for some big final show-off. But the one thing I was getting from it feels like that there is much more of an interesting storyline, what was going on in their home planets and them, the cleansing and all things like that. That seems like that was a lot more interesting than this race thing for the Ghost Monument, or this race thing for the money. Another thing as well that I forgot to say earlier, when they were talking about the money. Well, why doesn't the Doctor know what a trillion crimps is? What? He would know everything. He's always known money, and she is supposed to be this like all-knowing being. It just seems like they've taken a step back in what she knows, and it's her trying to explore it now. But she's not regenerating anymore. They should know it. The Doctor should know this, because there's always one. And I like the fact there is always one, apart from maybe Series 9, where I'm not calling that an overarching thing, the hybrid, because that was nothing. But anyway, so yeah, so the Stenza, hopefully they will be the overarching baddie, the overarching thing, and hopefully we're going to see a lot more of them and a lot deeper. And maybe we will get some like kind of cleansing and some kind of real big thing at the end. What they do in this episode is very slow, really stupidly slow, to really fast, really quickly, like a click of a finger, that's it. Like I said before, the best bits of this episode is the quick pace, not the slow bits. The slow bits are like a bit boring. Apart from that bit with the Stenza, that's about it in terms of like the actual slow. but the fast-paced bits, that's the interesting bits. Then we get to the fear things. I don't really know what it was. The things like the bandages which wrap around your face and try to suffocate you. That was an interesting idea. Now we're getting ideas of suffocation and different kinds of killing as opposed to just guns or shooting or just things like that. Like actual suffocation, really deadly, and actual fear, you know, kind of felt scared for the characters then, and the things that they were saying. And there we go, the best bit of the episode for me was they talked to the Doctor and talked about the timeless child. Really, and finally, we're getting an arc for Jodie Whittaker. We're getting an arc for the Doctor. We finally get this hint that there's something going on. There's something that she's forgotten, or that the Doctor hasn't came to terms with, or something like that that we don't know. Again, brushed upon, but we get to know that there's definitely something up. Again, we've got the whole overarching thing, like Chris Chibnall having little tiny hints of something, and then kind of brushing away with it, but building up in another episode. Hopefully, it's going to be worth it. So they set fire to them by exploding the whole garlic thing above and just like jump to the floor. Nice use of explosions there, I guess. And then one thing I didn't really get, the Doctor when they were supposed to be trying to find the TARDIS, when they thought it was there, she seemed really shocked, like she was just so willing to just give up. And that's not shocking. The bit she said even before at the beginning of the episode, it's going in and out. Well, maybe it's gonna come back, Doctor. How comes I remembered that and she didn't? She said that that's her. That's what she said. No one else said that. And that's why it's called the Ghost Monument. Surely that was a dead hint. And then they finally got to the end and the male and female captains were zapped away. It seems like that's how they're going to get rid of people at the end of every episode, is just them teleporting. But again, we have no way of knowing whether they actually won the money or what's going to happen with them. Hopefully we will still see them again and something else has happened to them, like a twist. I would like to see that. And finally, we come to the TARDIS returning, the old Ghost Monument. Because if this went for one more episode, it'd be like, oh, come on. But so it's ever so slightly different on the outside. I mean, it's a bit more metally. It looks a lot more actually like a police call box. So then we get to the inside of the TARDIS. At first, was I the only one that thought they weren't actually going to show? I'll be disappointed if they didn't. They spent way too long just focusing on her and be like, oh, you've redesigned, and kind of saying, yep, reminding us that the TARDIS is living and breathing. And I kind of always thought, I'm not sure, maybe I'm just forgetting what happened in the previous series, I always thought that it was the Doctor that actually redesigned it as opposed to the TARDIS redesigning itself. But yeah, so we've got the circular console in the middle, going back to the whole Davis era, and that's what I'm getting from this whole TARDIS. It's very Davis era, and that's why I liked this TARDIS. Whether you agree with me, tell me in the comments, do you like this TARDIS? Do you like the old school ones, or do you like the Stephen Moffat kind of era TARDISes? The hexagons are back on the wall, not on the console. So it's kind of like, again, evolving from old to new, and kind of throwing back just for the fans who liked whatever. The lighting at this point was very smoky, very dark. We didn't get a proper good look, but that might have just been because the Doctor has regenerated in it, and maybe it's still a bit, you know, explodey. But anyway, hopefully in the later episodes it will be a bit brighter. Not really sure what they were trying to say with that. Maybe like, you know, there's some kind of darkness, a metaphor saying, you know, like more is to be explored and come and adventure with me. Maybe I'm looking into it too much, but anyway. So now we come to my rating of like 1 to 10, or 0 to 10, haven't rated anything 0 yet. So, what do I think out of 10, considering this is like, I'm going to now be judging it, and have been judging it on like its own merit. It's not a regeneration episode, or anything like that. It's a full, proper Doctor Who episode, 45 or 50 minutes long I think this one was. What did I think of it out of 10? And I'm going to say, just because we've got those little bit of hints, and because it is so different, and like like I said, the bits that really worked well, and the bits that didn't work well just didn't go. But like I say, we have got more of an art, and seeing more of the Doctor. We've now got like that what seems like it's a confirmed stanza, like baddies, like for the overarching villain, and that little hint, like I said, with like the fear bandage things. And there were so many different enemies as well. We had the robots, we had the the actual, well, the people that was running the thing. We had there was so much in this episode in terms of baddies and danger, and just so much, just a lot. I would say this was at the very least on par with the first episode of the series. I would say, again, I would probably give this a 7 out of 10. But that's just my opinion. Now it's your turn. Tell me what you would give it in the comments section below. Out of 10, tell me your reasons why. I want to know. But before you do, make sure you subscribe to Planet Mark and hit that bell notification to be told of the next great uploads. And like this video, share it around. We're doing every single Doctor Who episode of this series, so if you haven't already checked out Season 11, Episode 1, The Woman Who Fell to Earth, go check that out right now. See if you agree with me on that one as well. Follow us on Twitter at PlanetMarkVlog or Facebook.com/PlanetMarkVlog. See you next week, guys. Bye, 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 bye.